Hello and welcome to Wednesday Web Chat. This is Carl Lewis. I am your host today. I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon, where my buddy Alex Rooney at Vision 33 would say it's a perfect day because the temperature is 33 degrees Fahrenheit. I hope you got that connection, Vision 33 and 33 degrees. In any case, it's kind of gloomy and cold and foggy in Portland. I hope the weather where you are is a little bit better and you're enjoying the holiday season. I wish all of you a Happy New Year upcoming soon. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Crystal Reports Basics again, this time kind of reviewing something we've spoken about before, parameters. So just as a reminder, we'll be going over very quickly an example of a couple of parameters that you might be able to use in your reports. I also have been asked to repeat the session we did on how to use queries and SQL queries and convert them to a Crystal report. So in an upcoming session, we'll be covering that topic again also. Just before we jump into all of the Crystal report stuff that we're going to be covering today, let's remind ourselves that this session of Wednesday Web Chat and all sessions of Wednesday Web Chat are recorded. It takes us about 7 days, and then they're placed on our website, the Total Care Customer Resources SharePoint site to be specific. You don't need to worry about the name of that site, the link, the login, or the password, because every week in the announcement that goes out about Wednesday Web Chat, we give you a little section where the link, the username, and the password are always listed, and they're always the same for anyone who accesses this customer-facing site. So have fun and review these videos and documents and many other useful things that you'll find on that Total Care Customer Resources SharePoint site. Our currently recommended version for SAP Business One is version 9.2 and patch level 4. I am running patch level 5 on my demo machine today, and it does have a little problem with Crystal Reports, so I have to bypass a certain way of previewing things in order to make it work. But as we've all experienced from time to time, you do have to use workarounds with software. That is the way it seems to want to work sometimes. So without any further additions from me, we'll take a look at SAP Business One. And I want to today take a look at parameters with you one more time. So I have the designer already open here and a report that I can show you what it runs like in Business One. So in Business One, and I'm going to do this from the Report and Layout Manager under the Administration menu. So Administration Setup, and in the General area under Report and Layout Manager. Now, this report is under my Sales Reports area, and I've actually created a little folder for my class solutions here, and the one I'm going to look at is this one, number 7. So I can run this report, and you can see that immediately a parameter screen appears. And this one has been kind of highly customized. As you'll see, I'll explain to you about how do you get a title into your parameter area, how do you draw these lines in there, and how do you get these different parameters to show up in various ways. We'll talk about those things briefly. So now, a date one, can I have a date picker? By default, a lot of times it's just faster to type the dates in that you want. And this one is a drop-down combo box type of a thing where I can select them all. I can unselect them all. I can select this one, that one, and the other one. Depends on how I set up the parameter. I'll choose them all in this case. And this one is just a little flag to say yes or no, which we won't be talking about today, so I won't confuse things by checking it. And when I run the report, it uses all of that information that I selected, and there are even ways to insert the date range that I selected and the salespeople that I selected in the parameter to appear in the header of the report. Those are things we could cover at a later time, or I welcome any of you and all of you to try to attend our Crystal Reports training classes, where we really go through these things in much more detail and where you have the ability to work on them, the exercises themselves in a hands-on environment, which is much easier to learn, of course, than just studying from a book or a video. So that's the little report that we're going to be looking at and how it's configured for these parameters to work. So as you notice, we had two basic parameters there. One was a date range and the other was to pick from a list of salespeople. So to understand how those are configured and how we might be able to make use of them, the first things we need to do are set up parameters. Now, when you initially see the Field Explorer screen in Crystal Reports, you of course can go to the View menu and ask for the Field Explorer. And you can put it anywhere you like to on the screen. I have a tendency to keep it over onto the right side of the screen for my own purposes. That's where I like it. And when I want to create a new parameter, if I have a plus sign there, that means I have some already. To create a new parameter, I simply highlight the parameter field's selection area, the tree, that part of the tree, right-click and select New. And the key thing about a parameter is that a parameter consists of what we call a token. And a token has three parts. Right? It has a name. So in this case, I could say salesperson. That's the first part of the token. The second part is the @ symbol. And the next part of the token is a select statement, right? A SQL select statement. In our case, that's what we're going to be using today, select SLP name from OSLP. Now, it could have a where clause and things like that in it also, but we're going to keep it very, very simple, right? So understand that the key part here is that this token, this name of the parameter has three parts. That first part, which is the name, right? Select salespersons. The @ symbol, which is the second part right there between them. And then a SQL select statement right there. They're usually very short that you can use, is the third part of the name, or what we call a token. So we'll take a better look at that in just a second as we go to a parameter that's already been set up for our salesperson. So you can always open them and edit them. Now, you can edit anything about your parameter you want except the name in this screen. If you need to change the name, you have to come out here, right-click, and rename it. And then you can use the editor in this little box. If that gets frustrating for you, sometimes I've been known to just delete the parameter and start over. So when I open it up, here's, again, you'll notice it's the same name that I typed before, as I was showing you how to create a new name with a token. So it's a select salesperson's @ select SLP name from OSLP. I have to tell it what kind of a value it is. And you can see I have some to choose from. In this case, this is a text field, right, a name field. So I'm choosing string. And you'll always choose the static values, right? We don't have dynamic values available in the Business One integration with Crystal Reports. You don't need to worry ever about these value fields or the description fields or anything in this area. Now, the prompt text is something that you want to take control of. And the system, when you create a new one, will try to give you a name, but typically you're going to want to type exactly what you want in here so that it's concise and clear for the user when they run the report. Okay? And so that's the one field that matters. And the others that really matter are down here where it says multiple values, discrete values, and a range of values. So there really are only 4 fields that ultimately have big impact on what you're doing and you need to worry about. Now, multiple values, in our case, is going to be true for the salesperson, and discrete values is going to be true, but a range of values will be false, right? And I'll show you what that gives you in the end. Right? Now, the other value that we are going to take a look at is doc dates. Now, this is a very special parameter. It's provided by SAP for SAP Business One users in the integration they've given us. The important thing to remember is the name, in this case, the token, is unique, and it is simply doc dates, that's plural, doc dates, and an @ symbol. It has nothing after the @ symbol, so it does not have the third part of the token. That's why it's special, right? It is a date type, and it is, again, static. The prompt text is important, select date range, and in this case, the values down here, don't go past them, Carl, the multiple values is false, discrete values is false, and a range of values is true. And you just click OK, and you have your two parameters set up over here in the parameters section. Now, if you do that and they are not applied to the report, you won't see this little barrel here next to them, meaning they're not in use, right? So the second part of setting up your parameter is to apply it to the report. And the way you apply it to the report is in the report menu under Select Expert Record. So you'll notice that both of these parameters are in use here in Select Expert. Let me click over here and to the salesperson one first so we can take a look at it. So you initially come to this screen and create new. You select new, and then you'll choose your OSLP name, right, as being the field. So if I kind of give you an idea, I would select OSLP name, right, and it would create this tab for me right here. Then I would select this operator, and in this case, I would choose is equal to. And when I go to the drop-down, if I've set up my parameter correctly, and I need to change a couple of things here, put in my password. Oh, what did I do wrong? Nothing I know about. There it is. So here's my parameter that I set up. So I'm going to filter, basically, right? I'm going to select records in this report around the OSLP SLP name field based on my parameter selections over here. Notice that when I select this field, all of my parameters show up there as well. Right? Normally, if I was able to log in correctly, I would see all the salespersons listed also. Now, what about the date range field? It's a little more complicated. So here in the date range, again, I select new. It creates this tab for me when I select, OINV doc date or doc date right there. Right? If I select that posting date field, it would create a tab. And in this case, with this special formula, doc dates over here in our parameters, it is a operator of a formula. And the formula is this little guy right here. Now, you'll notice very carefully that it says, in French braces, OINV doc date, close the French braces, is greater than or equal to minimum, and then in parentheses and French braces, notice this question mark doc dates at symbol. That is my parameter over here. And the same thing again, but this time the maximum. So it's saying I want you to use the minimum date that's selected in the parameter and the maximum date that is selected when the parameter runs. Now, what if this was a report about sales orders? Could you use this same parameter and simply modify this formula? Yes, you could. This right here, right, this would be ORDR for sales orders instead of OINV for invoices. And these two references here would be ORDR and not OINV. So you could use the same basic approach for any table that you want to find this field, a date field in. Just be sure that you edit this formula. It's one of the reasons that I save all of my older reports, because once you create one of these formulas, you kind of don't want to lose it. You want to have it for the future to be able to use it again and again. Now you'll notice what this little Select Expert Record selection up here does is it's a wizard, and it creates a formula down below. So you can see the formula that's created that the report is going to use. So once all of those are done, and normally you would be able to go to add-ins, SAP Business One, and preview in Business One, but as I said, I'm running this new patch level 5 and it's not letting me do it from here for some reason. But I can go out to Business One and actually have that same exact report as we showed, and right here in the report management area, report and layout manager, I can actually run the report, and here's what my parameters look like that I created. So I can enter a date range for it. I can select Now, remember I said when we set up the salesperson parameter that we told it that we wanted multiple values true. I want to be able to select multiple ones, and I want to be able to select discrete ones, but not a range. When I do that, I get this new checkbox capability that it wasn't around until version 8.8, and it only came with this version of Crystal Reports and Business One and the way it was integrated. So that was really helpful. And when I click OK, of course, it returns the report to me with the values that I selected. So creating parameters is not tremendously difficult. Now, lastly, I wanted to talk to you about these little guys right here that I can construct to make the screen readable. If I don't do things like insert lines and insert titles, things of that nature, these are my prompt text, by the way. If you remember what we put in the prompt text, that were these expressions right here. But the lines separate things because if I don't have them, it sort of smashes all of these guys right up against each other with no space, and it just isn't comfortable for the user to use. So if we go back to the Crystal Report Designer for a second under parameters, you'll notice that I've got one here that says title at title, and that's simply all it is assign title, and you can have title 1 at title, title 2 at title, and the only thing that changes is the prompt text, right? Report parameters. So that's the prompt text that's going to show up. And if you remember when the parameter screen ran back in Business One, right there it is right there, report parameters, and it automatically underlines it for you. Right? So it puts that title in. The other ones that you can see are the lines, and you'll notice that I have called them step 1 at separator, step 2 at separator, and step 3 at separator. Now, there's no magic about these guys. It is simply this expression right here, step 1 at separator, and you have to spell it correctly or it won't work. What I tell people is to remember that right here there's a rat, right, in separator. And it's a string value and it's static. That's all you have to remember to set. The prompt text doesn't matter. Nothing else matters because of this expression and overrides everything. But you have to have multiple lines set up. You can't use the same one more than once. So now I can actually go to the parameter fields area and set this parameter order. Right? So I can put that title first and then a line, and then the doc dates parameter and then a line, step 1, right? And then I can put another parameter and then another line and then another parameter and another line so that when the user sees it on the screen, everything's spaced out nicely. So that's why we use the separators and the titles. And some reports have many parameters, and they put those parameters in sections with different titles so that they're easier to understand what's being asked for the user to fill out. So that's a little bit of a lesson today about parameters in SAP Business One. Just checking to see if perhaps we have any questions, but I'm not seeing any today. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us and attend, and hope that you're on your way to a really good new year in 2017. Just in case you haven't received word yet, the new SAP Business One User Guide, 698 pages, a hardback published book authored by myself and a few other members of the Partner Advisory Council for SAP Business One, is now available from SAP Press and is shipping as of this moment. So we hope you will all take the opportunity to get one of those and put it on your shelf and use it as an ongoing reference for SAP Business One. And it is all about version 9.2, so it's right up to date. Have a great day and a great week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.